the most important part of a signature talk is authenticity. It needs to be powerfully authentic. People can see through fake, so don't even try it. The motto of fake it till you make it, it absolutely does not apply to this kind of a talk.
Hey, my name is Lisa Hugo, and I'm obsessed with helping other people find and develop their voices so they can go out and take on the world, be seen as an authority, expert, and speak their truth with utmost confidence because they know that what they have to share will connect with their audience and make a difference. I studied performing arts and spent 20 years of my career traveling the world as a professional singer-songwriter. I teach you the secrets to speak up and be heard, overcome your fears, to build your speaking skills, and learn how you can use your skills to make a change both in your own life and the lives of others. This is your one-stop shop for all things confident speaking. This is Impact Through Voice.
Well, hey there, and welcome back to the Impact Through Voice podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hugo, and today I'm diving into a topic that I feel is essential for anyone who is looking to stand out as an authority or an expert in their field. Anyone who's wanting to share their expertise to build their presence, both in an online environment and offline from stages at conferences and events. Then a signature talk is what I'm talking about today, and this has got the potential to significantly boost your professional presence and your authority in your industry. So let's dive in, get started. I'm going to start by talking about what actually is a signature talk. Now, you might have seen a TED Talk or a TEDx talk on YouTube or on the internet. If not, then please go and Google TED or TEDx, and you'll find some really valuable talks and topics that you can use also as an example of what is a signature talk and what is a TED Talk. But they're very, very popular events which give people the opportunity to deliver a powerful and concise presentation that can captivate an audience, and it can bring across groundbreaking ideas and personal experiences. Now, the objective of a TED is to educate, to inspire, and plant a seed into the minds of the listeners into maybe a different way of thinking about a particular topic. They're often very entertaining, and they're based on personal experience, and this creates a very strong human connection with the audience. Now, like a TED Talk, your signature talk is your unique message, and it's refined and delivered in a very precise way. A signature talk isn't just a speech, you get up and deliver a presentation, but it's really the essence of what you stand for and what you believe in and what your knowledge and expertise is that you want to share, and it's structured in a way that's going to engage and move your audience. So let's start by addressing why having a signature talk ready to go at any point in time is really valuable. So for starters, it is a versatile tool to have on hand. And I'll give you some ideas of where and how you could use your signature talk. So I'm going to start with the obvious, and that would be to speak from stage. That could be at conferences, at exhibitions, at summits. And it doesn't really matter what industry that you're in. You could be in tech, education, healthcare, marketing. But to have your signature talk ready to go is a great tool that can position you as a thought leader. It can give you the opportunity to introduce new ideas, new insights, and this can be influential to elevating you in your industry and your field. And then in workshops and trainings, your signature talk will include stories and real-life experiences and case studies that can really help your listeners and your trainees to understand the concepts easier and to make what you're teaching much more accessible. It's going to take your training from being really boring facts, and this is how we do this, to actually making it inspiring and motivating. And your trainees are going to come away feeling inspired to actually use the knowledge that you've shared. And then there's networking events. You can quickly establish your expertise and your passion for what you do, leaving a memorable impression on people with a mini version of a signature talk. So obviously you wouldn't share the full version of your talk, but you would condense it down to the main points. And we call that your pitch or your elevator pitch, which I've done an entire episode on as well. Really worth listening to. Now, of course, you could also use it at a networking event if you have been asked to be a guest speaker at that event. And I can tell you that these kinds of events are always looking for inspirational speakers. So that's a really great way to get started and build your skills and your confidence and your reputation. And then there's client meetings. When you're pitching to a potential client, then you need to have a solid talk that's going to demonstrate who you are, what you stand for, and the solution that you can offer your client. So that, in a way, is your signature talk. And it's a great way to build trust and to demonstrate the value that you can share from the get-go. Webinars, online courses, YouTube videos, these are perfect places for you to deliver a signature talk. Now, you can use these platforms to reach people in all corners of the globe, and you can then build your name in your industry, not just in your own backyard, in your own location, but also you can connect with people all around the world. And then if I go back to the TED Talk and being a TED speaker, once you have done a TED Talk, you're going to be viewed much more highly as an authority in your industry. It's an absolute given. And if you speak on a topic that is widely of interest, then you've got the potential to explode globally almost overnight. And that will open up opportunities to get paid to speak on stages all around the world. Now, there are plenty of examples of situations where that has happened. If you look at Mel Robbins, she shared a TED Talk, and she wasn't really young when she shared her first TED Talk. I think she was in her 40s. And that has led her to go on to teaching courses, teaching people, having her own podcast, and growing a multi-8-figure business. And so that's just one example. And there are many, many more of people who've done a TED Talk and they've gone on to explode their businesses. But even if that doesn't happen, you can use it to showcase your expertise, and it's definitely still going to elevate your brand and your reputation, regardless of whether it actually goes viral. So a TED is basically your signature talk, and it's no different except that it's not associated to TED, so you can't call it a TED. A well-crafted signature talk is going to help you to build authority, establish you as an expert, connect emotionally with your audience, influence people, change industry standards, inspire, and move people to take an action. A signature talk is deeply personal, and it shows your audience the struggles that you've been through and how you've then found your path to get out of those struggles. It's a really powerful way of connecting to people, helping to be relatable with people. And that's because it's very human. No AI can recreate a signature talk and have the emotion that you can share as a person. And so now that I've established ground for why you need to have a signature talk, I want to talk about what your signature talk needs and how you can craft one for yourself. Now, if you're a regular listener to the podcast, then you've probably heard already a podcast episode that I did a little while back on unlocking the secrets to crafting a compelling presentation. It was episode 9, and I'll put the link into the show notes if you want to go and have a listen or refresh your memory on that. In fact, I encourage you to do that because I really give away the formula for a compelling presentation using the EIEI formula. That's engage, inform, educate, and inspire. And it's a structure that I teach in all of my programs. And you can also download our free guide to help you with this as well. So let's get clear. You have multiple versions of a signature talk, and you can customize them to suit different audiences, different venues, and different purposes. And that's part of what makes it so powerful. The most important part of a signature talk is authenticity. It needs to be powerfully authentic. People can see through fake, so don't even try it. The motto of fake it till you make it, it absolutely does not apply to this kind of a talk. So to make it authentic, it has to have stories. It has to have experiences from your own life that will resonate with an audience. Think about a time when you've heard a great speaker and you've come away thinking, wow, that really made me feel something. You might have been moved. You might have been emotionally moved, or you felt something deeply, or you might have been excited or motivated or challenged to go and try something that this speaker had been talking about. It's most likely that you won't remember exactly what it was that they were talking about, let's say a week later, but you will remember the feeling that that person gave you. And you'll probably remember the main topic and some general points, but it's the overarching feeling which is going to override in every great speech. Now, to do this, you have to get vulnerable with your audience. You have to take your audience on a wave. So let's say you're delivering a 10-minute talk. Well, the first 1 to 2 minutes are going to be you setting the scene, telling a story, sharing a fact or a statistic, grabbing their attention, making them curious to know more and want to listen in with their full and undivided attention. Now, I have to say this because too often we hear people trying to start a speech with a joke or something funny and it just falls flat. If you're naturally funny, or you can make fun of yourself in a way that the audience is going to relate to, then you can share some humor. That's fine, but only if you are comfortable and you're natural in your approach. Really, just think about those times when you've heard a speaker get up and it just fell flat and it was a terrible start. Just don't do it if you are not naturally funny. Next, you're going to take your audience on a dip. You need to share a situation or a story that was a struggle. This is going to set the scene for your talk. So let's say your talk is on procrastination. Then you can start by sharing a story of how your procrastination caused you to miss out on important deadlines. Or maybe because you procrastinated, you would wait until the very last minute. I know, I'm a bit like that. And then you were never really able to deliver your best work. And after you handed it in or delivered it, then you found yourself sleep deprived, exhausted, moody, testy for days afterward. That's just an example. Then you're going to go on to share how you managed to get out of that. What strategies did you implement? What advice can you share for others who've experienced this or know someone who has had this problem? Now, I can tell you, most people will be able to relate to a topic like this, either themselves, they've been through it, or a family member, or a colleague, or somebody at work. We all know somebody who's been through experiences like these sort of lifestyle topics. Most importantly, your talk has to offer value. Either a new perspective, an insightful challenge, giving them new knowledge or practical tips so that your audience comes away feeling enriched and inspired. Now, the next part is really, really important. How you deliver your talk is really going to be the key to your success, and probably more than the content itself. If you get up and you speak with a boring, flat, monotone voice, your listeners are going to switch off. How you sound will be the key to how your audience receives your message. You can have the most wonderfully crafted talk with all the little bits that you need to have with your stories, your highs, your lows, your inspirational message. But if you can't deliver it well, your audience will drop off. I guarantee. Now, most people don't think about how they sound until someone points it out to them. So I'm going to give you a little rundown on the most common delivery mistakes that will really kill your presentation. The first one is the monotone voice, where you are speaking very much only on one level, your pace is very much the same, your depth of your voice is very much the same, and it doesn't take your audience on any kind of a journey because it's always sounding the same. It's going to make your listeners switch off. Then you have the soft-spoken voice, which doesn't really have any power to it. And when we're speaking so softly, it's really difficult for us to hear, and it sounds passive, it sounds weak, and it sounds like you're lacking confidence. And when you sound like you're lacking confidence, then people don't have that same sense of trust. And again, they're going to switch off. Another one that I hear so often is dropping off at the ends of phrases. And that would sound something like this, where everything I'm saying tends to drop off. And I'm actually going down into now what I call a vocal fry, where the voice isn't staying strong, but it's just dropping off and dipping, and it sounds lazy, it sounds tired, it sounds not interested. And if you're doing this with your voice, you may not realize it, but if you're doing this with your voice, you sound like you're not interested, and it almost even sounds like you're sad or you're depressed, and that's going to make people switch off as well. And then the main one also is, which all of these encompass, is energy. You need to have energy in your voice to get people to want to listen. If you sound very passive and you sound very apathetic, then people will switch off. Now, of course, if you're sharing a story where that story is taking the audience member on a journey of going through some kind of trauma, and you need your voice to sound like it's apathetic or exhausted because that's what you were going through, that's a very different story. But if your whole presentation just relies on that, that's when you're going to lose your audience. Some other key points to watch out for are filler words. Using filler words, umming, ahhing, kind of actually. Any word which comes up as a high frequency and can take away from the message needs to be addressed and eliminated. All those ums, ahs, where you're filling your beautiful pauses with ugly sounds will distract from the message, and you will lose your credibility. And what goes with this also is rambling, where you don't stick to a point, you can't speak in concise phrases, and that will naturally lose your audience. And then there are some more advanced delivery techniques that will actually make you stand out and shine to your audience if you can use them and use them well. Telling stories and setting the scene properly. And by that I mean including what I call VACs: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and smell. So setting the scene visually, you set up what can you see. Use your imagination and what you can see in the situation when that happened to you. You need to describe that scene visually for your listeners so they feel like they're in the room with you. And then audible, what kind of sounds were going on? Was it noisy? Was it loud? Were you in a bar and you could barely hear yourself think? Or was it deadly silent? You could hear a pin drop. Or maybe you could hear water running. Maybe you could hear the toilet flushing. Whatever you could hear, you're creating the scene using senses so that your audience will feel like they're there with you. Now, kinesthetic is maybe touch. Did you feel a touch? Did you hold somebody's hand? What did that feel like? Did you get a prickling sensation through your skin? Have a think about these kinds of things when you're telling stories. And the last one is smell. Could you smell something in the room? Was it a horrible smell? Did it, if you're in a bar, did it smell like beer or alcohol? Or, God forbid, somebody vomited, or you're standing near the toilets and you can smell the smell of urine coming from the toilets. I know it's not pleasant, but you're setting a scene, right? Or you're out in the garden and you can smell the flowers, you can smell the roses. Just think about it. And if you can incorporate these into your storytelling, it will make you, take you to that next level of delivery. And then if you've got more than one character in your story, to be able to play those characters using different voices. If you have a male in your voice, then you can lower your voice. And you've got women in your voice, you can lift your pitch and you can share. Maybe it was a soft-spoken person and you can play with different characters by changing the voices and making the story come alive. Now, I always say this, one of the best ways to practice these skills is to read children's storybooks and play with the characters, play with the descriptions. And by doing that, you'll get more in touch. And you could also do it in a way that you don't feel embarrassed, because no child is going to judge you. They're actually going to love it. Now, I teach all of these techniques in my Speaking Success Accelerator Program. You're listening to this podcast in mid-May. And our program is set to commence and run for the month of June. That's in about 2.5 weeks, we start our new Speaking Success Accelerator Program. So if you want to learn all the techniques that you're going to need to be able to pitch, to be confident, to use your voice, to tell stories, and to put all of these techniques into crafting and delivering your own signature talk, then you need to join this program with me. Go sign up now before all the spots are taken. Just go to lisahugo.com, that's my website, send us a message and say, I'm interested to join, and we'll send you all the details. All right, let's move on. How can you use your signature talk? Now, I've already outlined earlier the places a signature talk is really valuable, but I'm going to share from my own experience just how I use my signature talk. And remember, it's adaptable. Once you have your talk, you're going to find that you can incorporate more stories, you can remove stories, you can adapt it to suit different event themes and audiences, and you might even end up with more than one signature talk. And for me, that's the case. I have 2 main signature talks that I use, depending on the overarching theme and the audience and what I want them to come away with. And sometimes I can even combine those signature talks into one by incorporating both aspects of the parts of my life together and the value that I want to share with my audience. Now, I've delivered my talk at marketing conferences, at conventions, on podcast interviews, in webinars, and even as a guest on TV shows. Now, I use a mini version of this talk as a pitch when I had the opportunity to meet new people, new influential people, and share what value I can bring. When I attend a conference as a guest, I have a form of this in a pitch that I can deliver when people ask me, Lisa, what do you do? And I can share that quite quickly and concisely to help them understand what I do and what value I can share. So it's really important to have this pre-prepared, practiced, structured. I see it all the time. where people will ask you, just like I said, Lisa, tell me about yourself. And people start waffling and rambling without getting to the point. And then we, as listeners, we just want to switch off and start to look for an excuse to leave the conversation because we really can't get away quick enough. Practice your pitch. It doesn't mean that you're going to deliver it every single time, word for word, but it will give you a really clear structure that you can follow, and it will help to keep you on track. The beauty of a signature talk is that it is 100% versatile. You can tailor it to fit different audiences, different size rooms, and a signature talk can range from being just a few minutes to right up to 90 minutes. In fact, a 90-minute talk from stage is quite common. You can add stories, you can take stories away, and when you get really good at it, you can even do this on the fly to keep to an allocated time slot. So let's say the event host is running overtime and they ask you to condense your talk. Well, when you've got experience, you're going to know exactly how to do this very easily. Or the opposite, the previous speaker didn't show up to the event, so you've been asked to fill their spot by extending your speech just on the fly. So if you've got enough versions of your talk and stories that you can throw in and out, this shouldn't be a problem for you as you get more and more experienced. So a signature talk isn't just about getting up and sharing your knowledge. It's more about connecting with your audience. It's a wonderful way to build trust, to build rapport. And when you share not just the great things that you've experienced, but also those lows and the challenges that you've been through and the failed attempts and the despair, along with the joy and the happiness and the success, then you become more relatable and more real to your audience. Your audience will trust you more, they'll be more interested, they'll be more engaged with what you have to share. Now, if this has inspired you and you want to work on your own talk and how you can deliver it with the power of your voice, your expression, and your presence, I'm teaching this in our Speaking Success Accelerator Program. And as I said, it's running through the entire month of June. So if you want to join this program, don't delay. We've only got a limited number of spaces and they are already filling up fast. All you need to do is reach out to my team to secure your spot. Every person who has taken this journey with me has found it transformational. And you're going to find some of these testimonials if you go across to my website, lisahugo.com. I want to help you to craft your talk and then deliver that talk in a way that really sets you apart as a speaker. Let's get you on stages, into training rooms, on podcasts, speaking up in meetings, winning that next job interview. I run these training sessions personally, and I absolutely love giving this value back to you. So if you're interested, don't delay. I really look forward to seeing you in the room. Well, that's it for another session of the Impact Through Voice podcast. Thank you again for your support. Please remember to subscribe and leave us a comment or a review. It really does reinforce the hard work that we're putting in and the value that we're bringing to you every single week. Once again, I hope to meet you in the program and see you in the next episode.